Clearly.
Yeah.
We got 1 in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Welcome to pregame.tv. I'm your host, Teddy Covers, joined here by Steve Fezzik. We're going to be talking about why MLB Totals are the way to go. I love betting baseball totals, Fez. I really do. I think totals are a much better bet than sides.
Back up the bus here. For years, all I've been told is baseball's the most beatable sport because there's so much volume, and the dime line. They bet dime lines against the sides. And now you're telling me it's the totals we should be attacking.
I'm saying I love the totals. I can't speak for everyone in the world. I can speak for myself. And this is why I love betting MLB totals, Fez. Let's start with this. You can be half right and still win your bet, and it happens all the time. Look yesterday. You have a great example from opening day of Major League Baseball.
Colorado, Milwaukee. Old Milwaukee goes 9 innings, bagels, no runs. Game still sails over the 8, no problem. It's 10-0 in the 5th inning. You get one shellacking of one bad start from a starter. You punch in your over ticket, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. We saw 8 pitchers pitch well yesterday, and one guy got lit, and the over ticket done. As you mentioned, no sweat. Cash it by the 5th inning. 2, okay. Well, there's a 1A to this, too, because when you're talking about big favorites, there's a lot of room for betting overs with big favorites because let's say you're up against Clayton Kershaw. You're down 5-1 in the 5th inning. Are you bringing out your best bullpen guys? No, you're bringing out the back end of the bullpen guys.
Just like an NBA team with a back-to-back. It's like we got to play for tomorrow, no intensity. One thing about those big favorites, though, I'd much rather have the over when that big favorite's the road favorite, and I get the 9 innings instead of the 8.5. I don't feel the market prices that correctly.
Excellent point. Let's talk about this. You don't have to lay a big price to bet on or against any pitcher. All right, here's a guy you want to fade. Oh, but I got to lay 250 to fade him. No, you don't. You got to lay 110 because you're betting the over. Or here's a pitcher I want to support, but I got to lay minus 250 to support him. No, you don't. You can just bet the under. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even in the trading of the prices, you can have favorites in September that go up to minus 340.
Oh, yeah.
Every total seems like it's between 6 and 9, other than the games in Colorado, the games in Arizona, the summer games in Texas. 6 to 9 is pretty much the small range of totals that they deal.
Well, yeah, well, that brings me to point number 4. There's no wiggle room with these totals. 6 and 9. You know, occasionally you see a 9.5. And of course, in Colorado, when the wind's blowing out, or at Wrigley, when the wind's blowing out, you will see 10s or 11. But there's very little wiggle room in these totals. They don't go any lower than 6. I mean, I can recall a half dozen 5.5s in my life. And in the modern era, they really don't get into double digits, except for in these rare ballparks that absolutely attract over attention. But by and large, the bookmakers do not have as much wiggle room here as they have in setting a line.
You mentioned the wind. That probably segues into our next point also, that there's an extra added dimension to totals. If you're a specialist on wind, absolutely impacts different ballparks in different ways.
Well, no question. I mean, and let's put it this way. The limits are lower at every sports book for totals than they are for sides, which tells you the books are less confident in their numbers. Why are they less confident in their total numbers than they are in their side numbers? Simple. The weather changes. The weather changes throughout the course of the day. A wind that's blowing in the morning can be blowing out in the afternoon. A day that's supposed to be hot and hazy and muggy and humid and great over conditions can easily, a shower just went through and wiped it all out. So as the weather changes throughout the course of the day, you get more and more totals betting opportunities.
Yeah, look at Arizona. They can be, it's going to be a warm day. 88 degrees, and you're all ready to bet the over. It's all up to the guy with his little finger on the button to open or close that dome. The second that dome comes crashing down, all of a sudden that home run gets caught on the warning track, costs everyone about 10, 12 feet. In terms of how far the ball travels in Arizona, you need to know whether that dome's open, bet over. If not, not so much.
Sure, but let me tell you my single favorite reason for betting MLB totals. Nobody notices streaks. I'm a streak bettor in baseball, absolutely. I like to ride hot streaks, I like to ride cold streaks, and I love betting total streaks. But a team wins 10 games in a row, lead story on SportsCenter. Team goes over the total 10 games in a row, not a peep. The markets don't notice.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. And I'll give you have an example you want to give on that?
Yeah, you mentioned about Oakland going 29-2
Yeah,
to the over a few years back, and everyone kept thinking, oh, Oakland, that's all that foul ground in that ballpark. You know, you just can't play overs there. Every game went over.
It was 29-2 over a 31-game span just after the All-Star break. There were a couple of pushes in that group for if you couldn't line chop, but if Oakland went 29-2 straight up, the entire world would know about it. The entire betting world would know about it. When Oakland goes 29-2 to the over, nobody even paying any attention. The markets, at the end of the streak, you started seeing a little bit of extra juice on their totals.
And speaking of line shopping, you know, as a totals expert, when you know how valuable each one of these half runs is, you know, hey, I would much rather play over 7 and lay the $1.25 than over 7.5 and lay $1.05, because off or on the 7 is worth like 27 cents. So you'll have these charts.
Wait, give that number again, because I think people need to know.
Right, offer on the 7 is so important. Mm-hmm. It's worth 27 cents.
So 7.5 minus 127 is the moral equivalent of 7 even money.
Yes, yes. And the 9 is worth about 22 cents. The 11 is worth about 19 cents. The odd numbers are worth more because they're more common. Games land on the odd number. So an 8, offer on an 8 is worth less than 20 cents, a little bit less.
Sure, and of course, because they do that on an odd number, that means 4-3, 5-4, 6-5, the one-run games must end with an odd.
Do be careful with your live wagering, though, because sometimes they mess this up, where if the game is tied 2-2, great chance it lands 7. If it's 4-0, they'll still price, like when they give you alternative lines, that 7 will still be really important. It's not important anymore. It has no more bigger chance of landing than 6 in that case.
Last reason, at least for this video, that I like betting overs or betting totals, particularly overs, because overs are more fun than unders. That's the truth of it. But you're not making bets for fun. You're making bets to win. But umpires, you have all of these umpires that have legitimate biases, long-term biases. There's a huge difference between Doug Eddings behind home plate or Laz Diaz behind home plate. Robbie Alomar smashed John Hirschbeck on the head with his bat for a reason. His strike zone is so narrow. If Jerry Lane was behind home plate, Robbie Alomar might have given him a kiss. So umpire data, very key to these.
And we saw that opening night. And you can do this with your live wagering also. You can tell I'm a live wagering expert. It's like opening night, Mike Winters is calling every pitch 4 inches inside, outside a strike. No surprise, 3-0 final score.
And that is why I love betting MLB totals. I think it's the best bet you can make in baseball.
Pregame.com